Wildcats Radio 1290.
KCUB Tucson, a Cumulus media station.
We are the sports station that Tucson turns to for all the latest news when it comes to Arizona men's basketball, along with all the play-by-play action. We are Wildcats Radio 1290. Live from the CNWT.
From the what? Central Northwest Tucson. Duh.
It's DK on the Sports Tip.
With your host, David Kelly.
Radio. Just when I thought I was out, they drug me back in.
Featuring J.W. Madden.
Don't tell me about flip-flops, man. I'm a native.
And Cricket getting you home with traffic and weather.
Camp on Melt Lemon, not in the left lane on the freeway.
Here we go! And now,
a man who has not one, but three first names.
David Scott Kelly.
And a great Thursday afternoon to you. Coming to you live from Tucson, Arizona on an NFL game night. And we have got NFL football for you this evening right here on Wildcats Radio 1290. Thursday night football. It's a battle in my division. The AFC North. The Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. That should be a good one. Coverage starts right here on Wildcats Radio 1290 at 5:30 p.m. with kickoff coming up at 6:20. The AFC North is a very fun and interesting division. It got a little bit more interesting this week when my team, the Browns, lost their quarterback for the season. I never wish ill will on anyone in terms of injuries. I want to see all the players on the field. But y'all know that I'm not a fan of Deshaun Watson. I'm not a fan of his. I'm not a fan of men who do not treat women correctly. So it sounds like Dorian Thompson-Robinson for the second start of his career. The UCLA Bruin will get the opportunity this weekend. This division right now, every single team in the American Football Conference's North Division is above 500. It is the only conference in the NFL where every team is above 500. The Baltimore Ravens lead the way right now at 7-3. They lost last week to the Browns, a comeback and a walk-off win for Cleveland on the road last week. So Baltimore playing on the short rest, trying to get back on the winning trot. Pittsburgh and Cleveland at 6-3. The Bengals, who have dominated this division for the last few years, are on the bottom at 5-4. But just 2 games behind Baltimore. You win tonight in your one game. And, man, is this going to be a fun division to watch down the stretch. Cleveland's won 2 in a row. Pittsburgh has won 2 in a row. The Ravens and the Bengals are coming off of losses. So that's what we've got coming up for you tonight. 5:30 coverage starts on Westwood 1, Cincinnati at Baltimore. Busy show for you on Thursday, as it always is. Brian Jeffries is going to join us, the voice of the Wildcats. We will talk U of A men's basketball. We will also talk U of A football coming up. The Utah Utes coming to town this weekend. Ella Hattiesburg is going to join us from Arizona Soccer. They finished their season with a huge win in the Territorial Cup Series, beating the ASU Sun Devils a couple of weeks ago at Murphy Mulcahy. We'll talk to Ella Hattiesburg. If that name sounds familiar, her dad, a longtime Major League catcher, Scott Hattiesburg. We'll get Ella's. Scott Hattiesburg, you might remember, played a number of years for the Oakland A's, who today announced that they are officially the Las Vegas A's. I think I know what our question of the day for tomorrow. Oh, we won't have that. We won't have question of the day tomorrow because we don't actually have a regular afternoon show tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow, we'll get into that a little bit later, is a game day show for Arizona men's basketball. But Scott Hattiesburg played 4 seasons for the Oakland A's. He was a starter there. 02, 03, 04, 05 in his mid-30s, kind of at the tail end of his career. Played for 3 teams, played for the Red Sox, the A's, and the Reds over the course of his 14-year big league career. So we'll talk to Ella about growing up a baseball daughter. We've had a few of those on the Arizona soccer team of note of late. Denny Hocking's daughter was on the team for the last 4 years. Denny Hocking, one of my major league friends that I've known since Class A, way back in the early 90s. We got to get Denny on the show next year. I told him we'd have him on during baseball season, but we never got around to having him on. So we will definitely have Denny on next season when we get back to baseball and talk some. He works a lot of games with the Angels. The Angels, of course, hired a new manager in Ron Washington. So there'll be a lot of good things to talk about Major League-wise, and we'll do that with Denny next season. John Ferguson is going to join us on the show today, the general manager of your Tucson Roadrunners. We'll find out his thoughts on this team and how they've done to this point. The Roadrunners are home this weekend. They've got a couple of games, Friday and Saturday night against Coachella Valley, and we will have tickets again. We gave away a 4-pack yesterday. We will give away a 4-pack of tickets to see the Tucson Roadrunners today. So listen for that cue to call. That will be at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. Kelvin Efon will join us. He'll be our Arizona Insider this afternoon. We will talk football and basketball with him as well, the captain, as Arizona basketball getting set for a couple of games at home this weekend against Belmont on Friday night, a late one, and then a late afternoon game against UT Arlington. The University of Texas at Arlington will be here on Sunday. Yesterday on this show, we talked about how for the first time this season, the Phoenix Suns were going to have their big 3 in the lineup for their home game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, all on the floor for your Phoenix Suns. That was the plan. The best laid plans sometimes go awry. Bradley Beal was scratched before the ball game. So we are 11 games in, and we continue to wait for the big 3 to make their debut. Regardless, though, the Suns ran away and hid from the Minnesota Timberwolves, who we've been talking up all week long as one of the best defensive teams in this young NBA season. But, of course, when you've got the likes of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, it can sometimes be hard to play defense.
23 out of 38.
Wow.
That's what KD and Book shot combined last night. KD was 11 for 15 from the field, 35 minutes, 31 points. Booker only needed 26 minutes to score his 31 points last night in only his 3rd game. I think that guy could roll out of bed and get 30.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. Good to see Devin Booker back out there last night. 26 minutes, so they're kind of managing those minutes for him. And but still, yeah, absolutely a nice performance for Devin. Took 22 shots in that game, but a nice performance for him. Back, my guy, Keita Bates-Diop got in the game last night for about 13 minutes. He's the only NBA player, I believe, ever out of my high school.
Really?
University High School in Normal, Illinois. Yeah, Keita Bates-Diop went to U-High. We call ourselves U-High, University High School. It is what is called a laboratory high school at the Illinois State University, ISU, which is located in Normal, Illinois. So, and
is it a pretty normal place?
It's fairly normal. Yeah, fairly
figured.
Normal. There are a lot of laboratory high schools, a lot of schools that are affiliated with universities. I think LSU has one. I believe Champaign, there's University of Illinois has one. There's a number of colleges across the country that have laboratory high schools. And so I went to one of those. And a lot of fun growing up in that environment, growing up and going to a high school that's affiliated with a college and And, we obviously we had our own gym for basketball, but we played our football games at the college stadium. And then after I left, of course, the year after I left, they built a baseball park for both the college and our high school.
Yeah.
So the kids that were the class after me got to play at the new baseball stadium, which we didn't get to play at, unfortunately. But that's how it goes sometimes with expansion and all of that kind of thing. But good times growing up. And in fact, I had a chance to go out on Sunday and relax with one of my high school friends who also lives here in Tucson, and we went out and we were waxing about the old days in Bloomington Normal and going to college parties as high schoolers. It was a lot of fun. All right, 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. We'll talk about the Suns not having the big three last night, but getting that win. Also, our question of the day, and we'll get into this right now while we have a few minutes because we were stacked with interviews the rest of this hour. But yesterday, J-Dub, and you're not seeing J-Dub on the stream today just because we've had some issues the last couple of days with our video stream. And so J-Dub's camera is down. So you'll see me, you'll see Cricket when she comes in, but unfortunately you will only hear J-Dub today.
I ran out of my makeup that I usually normally powder my face and whatever, so I didn't have that in my bag today, so don't need to be on camera.
Oh, man. You're talking to somebody who carried makeup around for 12 years.
I know. I know. You didn't have a choice, right? Because those lights are so bright.
Yeah, they are.
In the studio for TV.
They will make you shine.
Yeah.
They will make you shine. But yesterday, J-Dub, you said that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you believe, is maybe the best pure.
I said he may be.
Maybe the best pure young scorer.
Yeah.
Scoring guard in the
perimeter
NBA.
Scorer. Yeah.
So that said, okay, well, I think I like that. Let's create a question of the day off of that. So here's our question of the day. And I had to give you 4 choices here. So who is the best young? And when I say young, I went with under 27. So that takes Steph off the list. That takes Damian Lillard off the list. That takes a number of other guards off the list. The best young pure scoring guard in the NBA. Here are your 4 choices. Trae Young, Atlanta Hawks. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Oklahoma City Thunder. I had to go with my guy, Donovan Mitchell, with the Cavaliers. He's actually the old man in this group at 27.
He's a bucket getter.
And Anthony Edwards, who J-Dub says is a young like Michael Jordan.
Well, he moves similar, like the way, it's so impossible. Remember Harold Miner when you were at USC with Baby Jordan, all that. Like, nobody is Michael Jordan. However, if you watch Anthony Edwards play, his economy of motion and the way that he moves around the court is a very similar, and at the same, about 6'7", long arms, big hands. He's only, I think, 21, 22 at right now. So there's a lot of time for him to grow. I'm not trying to put him in that category, obviously, but he has a very similar game and style.
So Shai Donovan and Anthony were my first 3 choices. I struggled with the 4th choice between Trae Young and Tyrese Maxey. But I felt like more people know Trae Young than know Tyrese Maxey.
Maxey's coming on so strong. I watched the game the other day against the Pacers, and he put up 50 without trying, David Kelly. Like, Tyrese Maxey, I don't know a lot about him. He's kind of been he obviously went to Kentucky.
Right.
But he was kind of an afterthought there in the Sixers. But the reason they got rid of Harden, and we're happy to do that, is because Tyrese Maxey, at only 23 years old, is coming into his own. He is playing with extreme confidence right now, averaging 27 and 7 assists.
All right, we're joined by the 3rd member of our team. So that's our question of the day. Head on over to Twitter right now at Wildcats1290. We got a poll up. Who's the best young pure scoring guard in the NBA? Trae Young, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Donovan Mitchell, or Anthony Edwards? Cricket joins us now. Cricket.
Hello.
You and I can be seen.
Okay.
J-Dub cannot be seen
Why
today.
not? What did he do?
I didn't bring my makeup.
He's invisible.
So
he is invisible
No
today.
full hair and makeup.
He's
I don't have my
today.
powder,
Invisible
so I'm all
man.
shiny. So.
All
No, this
shiny.
camera broke, so I don't have a camera right now.
Yeah, he doesn't have a camera right
Oh,
now.
okay.
We gotta get J-Dub's camera fixed over there so the people can see his pretty face.
There's one in here he can have. We can-
that one doesn't work either. He says the light is on this one, but I can't see anything. It might not be open though. I
It
might
might
have
be
to
closed,
open. Yeah,
yeah.
that one might.
That one
open
right
that.
there.
Open the thing on that, Cricket. And let's see if we can. Let me pull that one up. It is. We can see, there he is.
Long distance.
There
I
he
didn't
is
even
over
see
there.
that
See,
there.
now we have not been able to get that camera to work
Ta-da!
since we started streaming.
Gotta take a lens
at the
cap off.
beginning of the school. No, but the blue light never went on. When
I've
you
never
said the
seen it
blue light
on.
was on.
Yeah, I think
that
a
blue
wire-
light has never been on.
I think a wire got crossed somewhere.
Yeah. So now that one works, but his doesn't work. It's nutty, this system sometimes.
I'll clean the window.
Real quick, Cricket, you are watching Dancing with the Stars, correct?
No.
Oh, you're
Sorry.
not?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So I thought you were because Barry Williams got voted off this week.
Oh.
You know who Barry Williams is, right?
I think so.
Greg Brady.
Oh, gosh.
Greg Brady.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He's in his 60s right now. And he got voted off, and my wife was extremely happy about that because she felt like he had overstayed his welcome on Dancing with the Stars, because the thing about it is he's popular. Like they had a bunch of these young influencers. They all got voted off because I think the people that really watch this show have no idea who any of those young influencers are.
Their demo's higher.
Exactly. But we all know Barry Williams because
Of
we grew up on
course.
the Brady Bunch. And so everybody's going to vote for Barry Williams because we love Greg Brady, right?
Yeah. Love him, yes.
Exactly. Were you in love with Greg Brady when you were growing up? Did you watch were you a Brady Bunch fan?
I think I watched reruns. I think it was a little bit before my time, just a little bit before.
Well, it was before my time too. But but it was still on TV when we were kids.
It was super cool.
Yeah, exactly. So then I'll ask you the question I asked Christy yesterday. Do you know who George Glass is?
I know that name too, but no, I couldn't tell you who it is.
Okay. So we'll come back to that in the
Okay.
5 o'clock hour. All right. Getting you home every 20 minutes on the 5. So we got to get that. That camera is still on J-Dub. Let's go. Wave one more time, J-Dub, for the people right there. All right. Let's go back. There she is with your traffic. Here's Cricket.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together. Reported collisions Keno and Silver Lake, Sarita Road and Rancho Sarita Boulevard, and also in Oro Valley at Oracle and El Conquistador Way. Some busy traffic on 12th Avenue at Ajo, westbound Ajo at Mission, and also on Sabino Canyon north of Tanca Verde. 60 as our low, clear skies overnight, partly cloudy, and 80 tomorrow and 81 now. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together.
Arizona men's basketball. And in the spring, Arizona baseball. Wildcats Radio 1290. DK on the sports tip on Wildcats Radio 1290.
520-848-1290. 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. Arizona football taking on the Utah Utes this Saturday at the stadium. It'll be senior day, and we're pleased to be joined by the man who's going to call the game on the radio. Brian Jeffries, the voice of the Wildcats, joins us every Thursday at 3:20. And Brian, the words Arizona and Pac-12 football championship game, that's actually a lot of words, have come onto our lexicon a lot earlier than we thought that they might. How about that we can actually talk about the Wildcats with a potential to still play in the Pac-12 championship game just 2 seasons after they won one contest?
Yeah, well, it's a great feather in the cap for the guys and the staff that they're able to get to this point. And as you have mentioned, they'll need some help in that department. But, that Oregon State game is on a Friday night, the night before Arizona plays ASU. So first things first, Arizona's got to beat Utah. And if the Wildcats do that, and if things fall their way on Friday, that would set up a pretty interesting territorial cup. Not that it won't be interesting to begin with, but that would just add to part of the intensity, I think, of the Sun Devil Stadium crowd.
We don't have a lot of, I think I've been here now 16 years. There haven't been a lot of game-winning field goal kicks to talk about. I mean, you go back to Casey Skowron beating Washington. Off the top of my head, I think that's the only walk-off one I can remember in my time here. But great to see, Tyler Loop have an opportunity to win that game on Saturday. One of the things I said after the game was that, we always talk about, the position players and how they come here for glory. But, the kickers come here, they want to have a chance at glory too. And I was glad that Tyler got that opportunity. The Wildcats could have gone and scored the touchdown. But you want to see all the kids on that roster have their chance to really etch their name into the history books of this program.
Well, Tyler's kind of a quiet guy, and I think that he just goes about his business. He's only missed 5 field goals in his career. That tells you right there what kind of talent he has. And, they trust him in almost any situation, and he's also very honest with them. And like what happens with every coach, Jed will talk to Tyler before the ball game and says, where are you comfortable from? And when you're at 5,000 feet up in Boulder, the distance is a lot. I won't say easier. Trying to kick through the uprights from any distance to me looks pretty tough. But he knew, and he's got a great leg. We know that 52 wasn't out of his range, and I think he felt very comfortable getting that one. And then of course the shorter one to win it. He plays with a lot of confidence. And the other thing that cannot go unnoticed is the other 2 guys that are involved in that. Seth McKellar, who's probably one of the least known guys on the roster, and he's the long snapper, and I don't know if he's ever made a mistake. And Kyle Ostendorf, who does the holding, and it's those 3 guys in concert that put that thing through. And Tyler gets all the credit, and he should, because he's leading the league in scoring. But I still like the fact that they've got 3 guys that have just been tremendous together. And so, it was neat to win it that way. I'll give Jed a lot of credit. I was asking him on Monday about the math that he went through there, knowing in that last minute or so what they needed to do in order to try and milk the clock and leave Colorado with nothing. It worked out absolutely perfectly. I know some people were saying, well, why don't you just score the touchdown? But it turned out to be the perfect move. So, it's great for Tyler. It's great to win a game like that because, the Wildcats didn't play as well as they had in previous weeks, but it says a lot about a team when you can go out and not have your best stuff in the first half, turn it around and win a game on the road.
Wait, and for folks that did not hear the coaches show on Monday, obviously there was a lot going on, and it wasn't on our station here. But did you hear can you summarize maybe what he said about like you said, the mathematics of that moment and what he was looking at?
Well, he had to. In other words, he had to look. You had to check the clock, the timeout situation. So Colorado had 1 timeout. You look at the clock, how much time can you run off, etc. And he mentioned that he kind of calculated it through his head, and then took a timeout to check the chart, because the coaches all have a chart that will tell you, okay, timeouts, game clock, play clock, etc., and it all lines up, and it gives you an idea, okay, this is what we need to do in this situation. And Jed admitted that, he thought he had it figured out, but he wanted to double check his math, so he looked at the chart during the timeout and said, this is the way it will work best for us, and it did. And I think initially when they got down to the 1 yard line there, and then Noah took the knee, I thought to myself, and I kind of looked at Lamont, and I said, why aren't they going to try and score the touchdown here? Because that's what you think the obvious answer is. But remember, Shedeur Sanders is a heck of a quarterback, and there's nothing saying that Colorado in a minute couldn't get down there and tie that game up. So it turned out to be great.
Brian Jeffries joining us, the voice of the Arizona Wildcats, calls Arizona Wildcats men's basketball, football, and baseball, and has done so for the past 36 years. The Utah Utes have been one of the more consistent programs since they have come into the Pac-12 conference, and obviously we'll still be seeing a lot more of them when the move to the Big 12 takes place. Kyle Whittingham has just built a very solid foundation, Brian, there that kind of begins on the defensive end of the field. What stands out to you about the way that Utah plays the defensive side of the game?
Well, to me, it starts with physicality, and that's one thing they established early on. They wanted to be the most physical defense that you're going to face, and that is the most consistent part to me of that program year in and year out. And I start looking at their defensive linemen. They've got, 9 or 10 starters back from last year, and that's the way they recruit. They've been in a position now, because they've been so good for so long, they don't have to require or rely on transfers, be it JC or the transfer portal. They're able to build that defense really from freshmen on up. And so you find a lot of experience up there. And again, they have a way of teaching you to play physical football. And so the other thing, and Jed Fish has pointed this out several times, that they have consistency in their coaching staff as well. I mean, Morgan Scally, their defensive coordinator, he's been the DC there for 8 years. He's been on the staff for 16. And then on offense, Andy Ludwig, same thing. He's been on the staff for 9 years now. So when you have that consistency in your coaching staff, your philosophy, it bleeds success. And to me, that's one thing that always stands out. In fact, I was talking to Jed this afternoon, and I was not trying to be cute about it. I just said, is it the same old Utah defense? And basically it is. It's just new players, but it's the same system. They tweak things every year, and they're very good at it. Yeah.
Brian Jeffries joining us, the voice of the Arizona Wildcats. It is the Wildcats and the Utah Utes on Saturday at the stadium with kickoff at 12:30. Going to be nice, Brian, to have a day home game. We only get 1 or 2 of these a year. If we're really lucky if we get 2. We usually generally get around 1, but it's nice to have that 1, and it usually comes right around this time of the year when we're ready to honor the seniors.
Yeah, and our people, whoever fixes the weather here, has done a great job. 70 degrees, I guess, somewhere in that range, so it'll be a perfect day to be outdoors. And this is, I'll bring this up again. You hear it all the time that I know there's not many tickets left. I think about 1,300 or so, but this is the next step for the Arizona program. And that's another thing Jed Fish pointed out, is they sell out every week in Salt Lake City. Every home game for Utah is a sellout. Their stadium right now is about the same size as Arizona Stadium. And so this is the next step for the Arizona fans. If you want this program to continue to grow the way it has, and you look at what Jed's done so far, buy a ticket, get out there, because it not only means a lot to the current team, but when you have recruits standing on the sideline and they don't see an empty seat, they want to play in that atmosphere. And so we all take part of this. We all have a little hand in it, and that includes the fans. So I've said all week, if you can be there, you better get there on Saturday. It's the last home game, senior day, everything you mentioned, David, and where this team sits right now, it's another game to put them in a great position going into the final one up in Tempe.
Well, I know you've seen a lot of senior days and a lot of young men that have come through this program. Are there 1 or 2 guys in this class that are just that you're gonna remember and say, man, and especially when you think about this class, they were there 3 years ago when this team got pounded on Senior Day, and for them to be at this point now where they, like we said, we have a chance to talk about potentially a Pac-12 championship game and a bowl game for sure. Who are going to be some of those guys that stand out in your mind in this class?
Well, probably it starts with Mike Wiley because, speaking of seniors, here's a guy that not only has been around but made such a, significant contribution to the program over the years. Could have left easily after last season, said he wanted to be here, and I know he's happy he stayed. Jordan Morgan, a local guy that, if not for the injury last year, probably would have left, but at the same time, just what he has meant, I think, not only to the current team but also to the future of the program. Naz Bombano, who Jed mentioned they put on scholarship. Here's a guy that's in his 6th year. He plays a little bit on special teams. He's technically a running back. He's played over 40 games, even though he doesn't play a lot. And I just love guys like that are willing to sacrifice, even though they're not going to be in the limelight. Jacob Cowing didn't start his career at Arizona, but boy, what a way to finish it out. And, it's a young team. So, you look at the defense, and most of the seniors, I think, are guys that have been, not been in the program for a long time. And so you just look at their contributions here probably to this year. Taylor Upshaw, the grad transfer, comes to mind. Martell Irby, another transfer. And like I said, even though they may not have been here for 4 or 5 years, they've made such a huge impact, and I'm really happy that they're going to be honored. At least most of them will be honored on Saturday. I'm just thinking of some other guys. I know Tyler Manoa, another senior. But like I said, the good news is that they are so young on defense, and then offensively. I mean, they're going to lose some key guys. Wiley and Cowing, etc. Tanner McLaughlin, another guy that transferred in that has made such a huge impact. But 4 of the 5 guys on the offensive line will be back next year, and so the future is extremely bright.
Brian, let's flip to basketball real quick. A couple of big games coming up, or home games this weekend, Friday, Sunday, turnaround for Arizona against Belmont and UT Arlington. And just coming off the win against Southern, another strong performance by Keyshawn Johnson. He is really kind of turning into the energy, I believe, on this team in this young season.
Well, he and Caleb Love have that experience of being in a Final Four, and there's a reason that they came to Arizona because they wanted to develop another part of their game, and that's one thing Keyshawn said when he came here is that he loved what Tommy Lloyd was doing in terms of the style of play, and he wanted to add that to his repertoire, so to speak. And yes, he's been huge so far. He plays. I know this sounds strange, but he plays small for his size. And so he kind of gives you both. I mean, he can pound the glass. At the same time, I think that he's a guy that can play away from the basket exceptionally well. And he's just, I know he's an older guy, but he's just scratching the surface in terms of what he can do for Arizona. So he's a key part of it. I mean, you saw at Duke, the 8-man rotation, and able to expand that some more against Southern, and hopefully the same this coming weekend against the 2 teams that are coming in. But I think that to me, it's a very balanced team. At least that's what it looks like early on. And I asked Tommy about that over the weekend, and of course, he always says, "Well, so far," but we'll see how it rolls. But I just like the fact that you got 6 guys in double figures. As we saw last year, this is a team that loves to share the ball because they know that they're going to get it back again. And Keyshawn's a big part of that. I think there's a lot, David. I think there's a lot more to his game that we haven't seen yet, and that's what's most exciting. Is I have a feeling that one of these nights he's going to put up some huge numbers offensively, and we know what he can do on the glass. That's going to really open some eyes.
All right, Brian, you don't need a Learjet this weekend, but you might need a chauffeur for all these games that are going on. Have great calls, both high in the press box and courtside this weekend.
All right. Thanks, David. See ya.
Brian Jeffries, the voice of the Arizona Wildcats, joining us every Thursday here. DK on the Sports Tip. Arizona football coming up for you on Saturday. And don't forget Goldberg and Osborne, the injury lawyers, proud to support University of Arizona football. This Saturday, the Cats are home for Senior Day against the Utah Utes. Kickoff at 12:30. Buy tickets now. Only a few left. Jed Fish, I believe, talked about that in his press conference today, said they are getting closer and closer to a sellout. 621-CATS is the number to call for tickets, 621-CATS, or visit ArizonaWildcats.com. And if you can't get there, keep it locked right here on Wildcats Radio 1290. We will have tickets to give away tomorrow. We are actually going to be Bear Down Friday. Even though it's a game day for basketball, we are still going to have Bear Down Friday down at Illegal Pete's. Tomorrow we'll be down there from 5 to 8 versus 3 to 6. We'll be down there from 5 to 8. So join us down there. I'll have some football tickets to give away for you, as well as we'll have some Saturday morning out on the mall. All right. Getting you home every 20 minutes on the fives. Ella Hattiesburg, Arizona Soccer, is going to join us next. But first, I should say, let's hear from Cricket.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together. Westbound I-10 near Alverdon. Collision with the stay right advisory to get you by. Expect some slowdowns. Also a wreck that occurred on 22nd Street east of Country Club. Also reported collisions Broadway and Alvernon, Cushing and Granada, Oracle and El Conquistador Way, and also Keno and Silver Lake. And weather-wise, 60 our low, clear skies, partly cloudy, 80 tomorrow, and 81 now. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together.
This report is sponsored by the Window Depot.
The Window Depot is
Sports Tip on Wildcats Radio 1290.
520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. You can call us at that number. You can text us at that number to participate. Great talking to Brian Jeffries. As always, let's shift from Arizona football and men's basketball to Arizona soccer. The ladies wrapped up their season a couple of weeks ago now with a huge home win over the rival Arizona State Sun Devils to finish the year 6-8-5. And we are pleased to be joined by sophomore defender Ella Hattiberg. And Ella, first of all, pleased to have you on the show. What an exciting way to end this 2023 season with a win over the Sun Devils.
Hi, yeah, thank you for having me on this. Oh my gosh, that the season was great, but that win was definitely like the cherry on top. It was so awesome.
So you guys had the biggest crowd, I believe, ever at Mulcahy Stadium that night. What was it just kind of like walking in, seeing all those people, watching the stands fill up, and then being able to go out there and perform at a high level in front of all those fans?
Oh my gosh, it was insane. It was definitely like such a cool feeling, like seeing all the fans, like they couldn't even fit them in the bleachers. They had to have them on like the side sitting on the grass. It was so cool to see that, and such a cool feeling to even come out on top, especially against ASU. I mean, we had a home opener against Oregon, and there was a lot of people there, and I was like, gosh, I don't think we could fit anymore, but somehow they did that for ASU.
And then the final few minutes when obviously victory becomes a reality, just kind of describe that when, maybe obviously the season didn't go as well as you all would have liked, and knowing probably that there was not going to be an NCAA tournament, but, just the final few minutes and knowing that it was going to end the way you wanted it to end.
It definitely was a bummer that we didn't make it to the tournament this year, but we'll definitely use that as motivation to make it next year, and that's definitely a goal of ours. But, those last final minutes, like everyone's so tired, it's always like the biggest part of the game. But just knowing that we did it for those seniors and like all those girls that won't be coming back as Arizona Wildcats, it's definitely a really cool feeling to be able to perform and come out on top for them, especially with the huge fan base that we had there.
Ella Hattiberg joining us, Arizona Wildcats, a sophomore defender for the women's soccer team. And you mentioned all of those seniors, and I want to talk about one in particular, the lady that you all as defenders protect there in the goal, Hope Heisey. What does Hope mean to you, having had a chance to play here with her for her final two seasons?
Oh my gosh, I've never met anyone like Hope. She's literally the most amazing player and person, and I learned so much from her each and every day. She's a huge leader on this team, and she'll definitely be missed, especially since she's like the hometown hero. But she is just so cool, and it's just so awesome to see where she's going to go in this next chapter. But I've learned so much from her, and she's always been in my corner, and I'm going to be sad not having her for my last 2 years, but definitely like an amazing person, and I've never met anyone like her.
You guys were obviously had a little bit of a younger team this year, and that led to maybe some of the struggles that you guys had. What was the biggest thing you think you guys learned this year that will help propel you into maybe being able to put yourself into a tournament conversation next year?
I think we definitely are a really young team, but I think just making sure that we're a really tight-knit team. Like, we love to hang out outside of soccer. We have a really good chemistry, and I think just continuing that and using, like, what we felt after not being able to make the tournament this year, using that as kind of a motivation to strive to get that goal next year, especially in the new conference. I think it'll be a cool new opportunity for us. And I think just being able to carry on that chemistry and being able to consistently play well, like we saw glimpses of this year, and just continue to do that all season, throughout the whole season next year.
You're the latest baseball daughter that has been a part of this program the last few years. And what was that like for you growing up with a dad playing in the major leagues?
I was really young, but it was definitely a really cool experience. I mean, we grew up way differently than most people. We got to grow up going to baseball games, going on the field and all that, which was really, really cool. But it's nice to have my dad as a sounding block for me because he's gone through it. He's done college sports. He's done the pro sports. So it's definitely someone nice to have in my corner that I can go to for advice and know that will always support me.
In case you were not with us earlier, Ella's dad, Scott Hattiburg, 14 years in Major League Baseball with the Boston Red Sox and the Oakland A's, and I believe the Cincinnati Reds, the final team that he played with in his career. So I'll ask you the same question that I asked Ileana Hawking. Why soccer and not softball?
I know. I mean, my older sisters, they played softball for like maybe a year when they were really young, and my dad coached them, but it didn't last very long. We all went and ended up playing soccer. And I never played, but I love to like play catch with him and all that, but it just never stuck.
That's interesting. It's interesting to kind of see how that happens. What made you fall in love with soccer then? Like, when did you start playing that, and why was that kind of maybe the sport? And did you play other sports as well growing up?
Well, I played basketball throughout like elementary and middle school, but
Okay.
I don't know how talented I was at that sport. I would foul out too many times. But I started playing soccer when I was 3 years old on the Happy Pandas. And it was all with my like 5 best friends and with my best friend's dad, who was our coach. And it was just so much fun. We would have pink uniforms. We had like pink ribbons, tie-dye socks. It was just so much fun to play with my best friends and grow up with them. So I think that's definitely where my passion for soccer started, was just being able to like have fun with it and let that passion kind of start to thrive a little bit. And it's definitely stuck with me because I kept like each year went by, I just knew more and more that this is what I wanted to do.
Ella Hattiburg joining us, Arizona soccer sophomore, now rising junior, and defender for the women's soccer team. You grew up in a place called Gig Harbor, Washington. Now, did you grow up there your whole entire life, or did you kind of travel around from different places?
We traveled a lot, but we always had our house in Gig Harbor.
Okay,
so we.
Judging by what I saw,
Okay,
that's a place. That's a place that's surrounded by a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes, it is.
So did you grow up?
You
grow up on lakes?
It's more of like a bay.
Okay.
Almost, it's like a saltwater water.
Oh, okay.
And it's so much. It's so pretty and so much fun.
That's outstanding. That's. I mean, I can't imagine. I've only been up to that area a few times in my life, but it just seems like it's such a beautiful place to grow up. Indeed, when you look at obviously when you look at the future and what you want to do for yourself, and having grown up and played high school sports on the West Coast. When you were looking at Arizona, what was attractive about that to you? And I'm asking because obviously the dynamic of how high school kids choose schools on the West Coast is going to be changing because of because the Pac-12 is dissolving. Did you want to stay in the Pac-12? Was that what it was about for you? And how do you think? And if so, how do you think young ladies that are in your situation coming up are going to look at schools now like Arizona, Arizona State, and some of these other schools now that, you don't get that trip home every year to have a chance to play in front of, whether it's in Seattle or in Pullman to play in front of the home folks?
Yeah, it's definitely, when I first was starting my recruiting process, my dream was always to play D1 soccer. And that was just because that's what we grew up watching, was all the Pac-12 sports. And so that's definitely what I wanted to do. And not saying, like, Pac-12 is a great conference, but I think the Big 12 will be so exciting for us. But it's definitely going to be a bummer that not being able to go home to, like, Washington or, like, Oregon, where all my grandparents and my parents and sisters can all, like, drive down and see. So I think that will be definitely a switch. But, what made me choose Arizona was just, like, I really wanted a college town. I love the feeling of just the whole town revolves around the campus and the university. And so that's definitely something that caught my eye in Arizona. I mean, I love the warmth because there's a lot of rain over in Washington. But, I think, honestly, the conference shouldn't sway your decision. Like, that should never be the main deciding factor for you if you are looking for whatever college you want. But it definitely was a goal of mine, but it never swayed me that's the only reason why I want to come.
Outstanding. Well, Ella, continued success here at the University of Arizona as you get set for your junior season, and we're looking for you ladies to get back to the NCAA tournament next year.
Oh yeah, me too.
Outstanding. Ella, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Ella Hattiberg, sophomore defender, now rising junior at the University of Arizona, and appreciate her taking a few minutes to join us on this Thursday afternoon. Interesting, kind of what she said there. And I think that's one of the things that's going to be what we're going to look at. Young ladies like Ella that are maybe up in Oregon, up in Washington now. Will they look at Arizona as a place that they want to come and play soccer? She said, I wanted to play Division I, and I wanted to play in a college town. But maybe now with Washington and Oregon, the University of Washington and the University of Oregon being in the Big Ten, maybe young ladies like Ella now look for that college town, if it's not going to be one of those schools, in the Midwest that allows them to have that. And that's what we've been talking about from the start, allows them to have that trip back or multiple trips back to be able to play closer to their family.
It's much faster down here, right, than up there in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Because if you're kicking the ball in that wet grass and you get 250 days of rain every year, it's got to roll a little bit slower than it does in the dry grass out here. It's got to be a little bit of a faster game.
Yeah. All right. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, we're going to have our Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge. Listen for the cue to call when we come back. It's DK on the Sports Tip. I'm David Kelly. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together. I-10 near Alvernon Way with a collision partially blocking the left lane. Stay right westbound I-10 near Alvernon, and expect freeway backups on the westbound side of I-10 approaching and passing Valencia. Ajo and Mission for more busy traffic. 12th Avenue at Ajo Way. Other crashes, Oracle south of Ina, Broadway in Alvernon, 22nd Street east of Country Club motorcyclist involved, and a collision downtown at Cushing and Granada. I'm Cricket, and your weather overnight. 60 as our low with clear skies, partly cloudy, and 80 tomorrow and 80 now. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 Traffic and Weather together.
This report is sponsored by Big O Tires. Come to Big O Tires for the big...
The Cats on the radio. You're listening to 1290. We are Wildcats Radio 1290. Live from the CNWT.
From the what?
Central Northwest Tucson. Duh.
It's DK on the Sports Tip
With your host, David Kelly.
Radio. Just when I thought I was out, they drug me back in.
featuring J.W. Madden
Don't tell me about flip-flops, man. I'm a native.
and Cricket getting you home with traffic and weather.
Camp on Melt Lemon, not in the left lane on the freeway.
And now,
A man who has not one, but 3 first names.
David Scott Kelly.
It is that time of the week on Thursday. Time for the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge. Here's how it works. I pick the game. Can you pick the winner? If so, you are going to walk away this week with $50. A $50 gift card from Miller Lite because last week's game by the participant in the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge was picked incorrectly. That who was his name? Was it what was his name, JW? Do you remember? I probably should have a list and write all these names down so I have them and can refer to them. But the young man picked the New Orleans Saints to beat the Minnesota Vikings, and that did not happen. The Minnesota Vikings won that game. And so $50 right now. Caller number 1, 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290 to play the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge. I picked the game. Can you pick the winner? If so, you're going to walk away with a $50 gift card from Miller Lite. We've got more information on the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge on our website. So head on over there right now to wildcatsradio1290.com. You can find out all about it. If you pick the wrong team, you still are going to go away with a prize. You're going to get a prize pack from Miller Lite. There's some good stuff in that prize pack as well. So you can you win either way. You know, even if you don't pick the right team, you're still going to win. Call number 1 right now. Tony Rodriguez.
Yeah,
correct.
he's the one who
Tony
went to Boulder.
Rodriguez was the one. Yeah, he went to Boulder with the Wildcats football team, saw the game, and has traveled to a number of games, he says, to watch Arizona football. And he was the participant last week, but did not pick the right team. And so this week you have a chance to win big money. 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290, caller number 1. And let's go to, is it Noah? Noah, you are on Wildcats Radio 1290, DK on the Sports Tip. You are caller number 1 to play in the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge.
Let's go.
Let's go. Noah, who's your team?
49ers.
The 49ers. All right, before we do this, let's see. I had a game picked out, but if the 49ers game looks good to me, no, we can't pick that game. They're an 11.5-point favorite at home over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But that's they're having a good year, 6-3. All right, so earlier in the show, Noah, we were talking about because tonight is Thursday Night Football tonight is an AFC North battle between the Bengals and the Ravens. And I mentioned that the AFC North is the only division in football where all the teams are over 500, okay? So we are going to pick the other game in that division because it's a in-division AFC North weekend. So it's going to be the Steelers at the Browns. And in case you don't know, Noah, I'm a Browns fan, okay? So the Steelers are in Cleveland. Cleveland is a 1-point favorite, but the Browns, as you may know, do not have Deshaun Watson at quarterback anymore. He is out for the season, which means UCLA's Dorian Thompson-Robinson, from what I'm hearing, is going to start at quarterback against Kenny Pickett, Levi Wallace, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I picked the game. Can you pick the winner, Noah?
Yes, it's the Steelers.
It's the Steelers. Oh, Noah. you just put a knife. Well, actually, you didn't put a knife in my heart because you allowed me to take my team, which is not a bad thing.
Mhm.
All right, so Noah, this is how it works. Why do you think the Steelers are going to win?
I think T.J. Watt is obviously legit. T.J. Watt's T.J. Watt. And then Kenny Pickett can at least be average at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They can obviously beat the Browns because backup quarterback's a backup quarterback, and he's also what is he, like a rookie?
He is a rookie. This will be his second
Yes.
start, and his first start did not go very well.
So yes.
All right, Kenny Pickett's only thrown 6 touchdown passes this season. I would have expected more from him, but they've had trouble offensively, despite the fact that they have 6 wins this season.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, the last person that went against a rookie quarterback on this in this Pigskin Challenge went against Will Levis, making his first start, and they lost. Will Levis got the win that week, but you're going to go with the Steelers. I'll take the Browns. Noah, hold on. We're going to get your information, and we're going to invite you back on the show Monday after the game, and we'll discuss what happened. How's that sound?
Yes. Sounds
All
good.
right. Congratulations, Noah. We'll see what happens on Sunday. The Steelers. Hold on, Noah. Steelers and the Browns on Sunday. 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. It's the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge. Every Thursday, I pick the game. Can you pick the winner? If so, you will walk away with a minimum $25 gift card from Miller Lite. This week, though, it is a $50 gift card from Miller Lite because I won last week. So when I win, that means more money for you. So you want me to win so that you have a chance to win more money. The highest pot we've had so far this season, $75. A $75 gift card was handed out. So $50 this week. If I win, it'll be $75 next week on the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge. Speaking of the Browns, I don't know if any of you have or play in a 33 club, but the Browns last week made a whole lot of folks in 33 clubs around the country rich. And if you've never heard of a 33 club, basically what it is it's 32 players. You get 32 of your best friends, okay? You set the pot for every week at whatever you want. You know, some people go $10 a week. Some people go $5 a week, whatever. And so that's the pot for every week. And if no team in the NFL scores 33 points, everybody gets a team. So you and 32 of your best friends, everybody gets a team for that week. If none of those teams score 33 points, it's kind of like the Miller Lite Pigskin Challenge. The pot flips over. Okay, so let's just say your pot is $5 a week. 32 people, that's $160 a week for your pot. Nobody scores 33 points. The pot flips next week, that $160 to the next $160. So the next week, it's $320. Okay, well, this year in the NFL, we went, I believe there was a 33 scored in week 2. We went 7 weeks, if my math is correct. 7 weeks without another team scoring 33 points in a football game in the NFL. So if you had, say, your pot was $5 a week, you won this week close to $1,300 in your 33 club if you had the Cleveland Browns, because they beat the Baltimore Ravens last week 33-31. And say your pot was $10 a week. You're going home with darn over $2,500. JW, you ever been in a 33 club?
I have not.
No, you should get in one. Maybe if I have an opening next year, you can get into mine.
I've never been that cool before, so.
Okay. Well, you don't have to be cool. You just have to be lucky. Because there's no skill to it.
You have to be invited.
You get one team a week. And if your team scores, you have no control over what happens in the game.
Sure.
You don't have. It's not like one of those survivor clubs where you have to pick anything. You just have to have the right team.
Sure.
And last week, if you were in a 33 club and you had the Browns, you got rich. Very rich. Merry Christmas to all the people out there in 33 clubs that had the Browns. In fact, if you're in a 33 club and you had the Browns, I want to hear from you. 520-848-1290. 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. Reminder, NFL football tonight, Cincinnati at Baltimore. Our coverage starts at 5:30. We will not have NFL football on Sunday, however. All the international games are over, so no more morning football. And we will not have the Sunday night football game on our airwaves because, of course, we've got Arizona men's basketball on Sunday night, the Wildcats and UT Arlington tip off at 4 o'clock. So this will be the only NFL game that you will get on our station this week. All right. Where am I now? Okay.
You're in Central Northwest Tucson.
Central Northwest Tucson. Thank you very much, J-Dub. All right, I want to get back to our question of the day. Actually, I want to wrap up the one from yesterday and get to the one from today because we're starting to get votes in on this here. And the question was, who is the best young, pure scoring guard in the NBA right now? And I gave you 4 choices. And I said under 27. I probably should have said 27 and under, which is what I meant to say. But I've been told I left one glaring name off of this list, J-Dub, and who do you think that is?
There's so many. I mean, there's the problem. There's so many. I mean, Luka's a guard, and he's
Luka. You consider Luka a guard?
People consider Luka a guard.
Okay.
I consider Luka to be whatever the hell he wants to be honest. But I mean, that's the position he's listed as a point guard. That's the spot he plays.
Okay, but if I told you there was one, if we're going 27 and under,
sure,
and I left one glaring, and when I say
I hope you're not talking about Jordan Poole.
No.
Okay.
I'm not talking about Jordan Poole.
Tell me who you're talking about.
One glaring name that I left off of this list has been pointed out to me by someone who observed the poll.
Yeah, Booker.
Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Devin Booker.
The problem here is we were trying to talk originally just about perimeter scorers because you throw Embiid and you throw Joker and those guys are super efficient. Obviously, Giannis. They've been at the top of the scoring ranks now going on as long as they've been playing. I brought up Shai because here's the thing. Let me give you a breakdown really, really quick.
Okay.
The funny thing about those 4 names you mentioned is Trae Young made some noise because he beat the Knicks. And anytime you beat the Knicks, biggest media city in the world, you're going to get, especially when you do it when you're trash talking the fans, Trae Young's name is out there, right?
Wait, wave to your distant camera real quick. So, there you go. I'm
over here.
He's over there. All right.
So, Anthony Edwards is shooting 46% from the field this year.
Yeah.
All right. He's not necessarily the lead scorer. There's multiple lead scorers. I think it's him and Kat kind of share that role. Trae Young is shooting 35% from the field this year. Donovan Mitchell is shooting 48% from the field. Shai is shooting 54% from the field. And the same goes for true shooting percentage, which is really what a lot more people go by. I think Devin Booker's maybe the best scorer, period, in the NBA. I think, again, I said Shai. The reason I brought Shai up yesterday is because a lot of people don't know who that is. Mm-hmm. You know, he only played the 1 year at Kentucky. He played for the Clippers. Originally, he was drafted there. Then he went over to Oklahoma City in the trade for Paul George, right, if I'm not mistaken. And Oklahoma City, David Kelly, you might not have seen many Thunder games these last 5 years because they had a similar parallel to the record of the U of A football program during that same stretch. They just have not been very good. They're not on any nationally televised games. But quietly, Shai was 5th in MVP voting last year. I really was bringing him to attention because it was fresh on my mind. I just seen him play the night before. He and Maxey are these 2 guys who I didn't really know much about coming out of college. I haven't really seen a lot of their games because they're not haven't really been featured. But watching both of those 2 guys recently, I've seen Devin Booker cook guys now for 7 years. I mean, he had his 70-point game. How long ago was that? 7 years ago when he was 19?
Right.
No, I mean, I don't think that we're trying to obviously disrespect the in-state guy. Devin Booker is that guy. He always has been that guy. I think it's so hard to phrase any of these things without upsetting somebody because guess what? We only have 4 slots in those polls. It's tough. It's really tough. Maybe we could differentiate point guard, shooting guard type of thing. But then again, Book is playing point guard this year. So what position does Devin Booker play? What position does Luka play? What position do any of these guys play? I think the main thing I'd like people to take away from this is if you have not seen Shai play, he gets almost all of his buckets uncontested at the rim because he shook guys and they're gone. They're in the dust and they're back there and he's at the rim finishing by himself. And it's really weird to watch a guy do that to grown men these days because most guys are making a lot of off balance mid-range stuff or Steph style, Trae Young style threes. There's the physical, just imposing guys like Anthony Edwards is. Just a scary, scary guy going downhill. Shai is not the quickest guy. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the strongest guy, but he's got that AI level of kind of ability to get around guys fairly easily. And so I think that was really what I was pointing out more than anything.
All right, right now, our poll is up again. Head on over to our Twitter page, at Wildcats1290. And who is the best young, under 27, it says, but really it should say 27 and under, pure scoring guard in the NBA. And you can add your choice. If you want to add choices, we had somebody that added Devin Booker because we did not put Booker on this list. Trae Young, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Edwards. Right now, it is SGA and Donovan Mitchell tied at 33%. Anthony Edwards and Trae Young tied at 17%. So very early on in our poll, head on over to Wildcats Radio 12 at Wildcats 1290.
There's so many guys, because if you think about it, Jason Tatum is 25. Like, where does he fit into that list? Cam Thomas, have you seen him play basketball? He is only 22. He's putting up, let's see, Cam Thomas is averaging 26.9 points a game right now as a 22-year-old. I think and Desmond Bane is the other guy at Memphis. Desmond Bane is a really, really solid guard. It's so hard. And that's, again, go back to my whole point. I think the NBA is in such great hands right now because there's so much skill at such a young age in this era to go along with those guys. Meanwhile, Steph is second in the NBA in scoring. So
at 35.
And Luka is third.
At 35. Steph's getting old. He's starting to be an old man in the NBA now.
Yeah, you need a little bit of knees when you're shooting from 30, but, that's one skill set that really doesn't change, right? If you're scoring all of your points at the rim over the top of guys, your burst and your ability to elevate goes away in time. But a lot of the best players, LeBron, Jordan, these kind of guys, as they get older in time, they spend a little bit more time in the mid-range, a little back to the basket, turnaround Jays, that kind of thing. So, but Steph is always going to be Steph.
All right, coming up, we'll hear from Frank Vogel on the Big Three not taking the court last night for the Suns. We'll hear from him, as well as coming up, we tried to play this for you on Saturday. We couldn't get it going out on site, so I want you to hear from Brooks Reed. Had a chance to catch up with Arizona football legend Brooks Reed last Friday night at the Sabino High School football game. We'll hear from Brooks on being back here in Tucson, supporting the old purple and gold. Sabino in the state semifinals this Saturday night, trying to advance to the state championship game. It's DK on the Sports Tip, getting you home every 20 minutes on the fives. Now at 8, though, with your traffic and your weather. Sorry about that, Cricket, but take it away.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together. Reported collisions westbound I-10 near Orange Grove, Broadway Boulevard in Alvernon. 22nd Street east of Country Club that was involving a motorcycle. Downtown Cushing and Granada. Hit and run wreck reported Oracle and McGee. New collision Lambert Lane and La Cholla. And also 12th Avenue in Irvington. Weatherwise 60 and clear overnight, partly cloudy and 80 tomorrow and 79 now. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together.
This report is sponsored by Big O Tires.
on Wildcats Radio 1290.
520-848-1290, 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. Arizona football hosting the Utah Utes coming up this Saturday at the stadium. We are going to be out at Illegal Pete's tomorrow. It's our last Bear Down Friday show. We thought our last one was the last home game, but we decided to do it one more time. It is a Meridian Wealth Management pregame show, but we're going to be out at Illegal Pete's for that. I'll be out there as well as the whole crew on University Boulevard getting you set for the Wildcats and Belmont tomorrow night. We'll also get you set for the Wildcats and the Utah Utes on Saturday. DK on the Sports Tip at Bear Down Fridays is brought to you by Corona, an official corporate sponsor of Arizona Athletics. The Wildcats still with a chance. So you're saying there's a chance to get to the Pac-12 football championship game. Here's essentially what has to happen for the Wildcats to book a ticket to Las Vegas. They've got to beat Utah this week. They've got to beat Arizona State next week. They've got to have Oregon State lose to Washington this week in that big ball game there, number 5 versus number 12. But then they've got to have the Beavers beat the Ducks in the whatever they're. I don't know if they've stopped calling it the Civil War or whatever they're calling that rivalry now between Oregon State and Oregon,
bad
which I'm
blood.
told. Yeah,
they're calling it the
bad blood.
I don't know, man. Something.
And
I
Oregon
mean,
State,
with the recent news that's come out with the decision about who controls the conference, right?
Yeah, really.
That involves. That's right up there. Washington State, Oregon State.
Oregon State won that game last year. So if Oregon State could win that game again, and then I'm also hearing that there might, in terms of strength of schedule, a few things might need to happen as well. Cal maybe losing to Stanford is good for the Wildcats, or Cal losing to UCLA. I'm not sure how that, but there is a strength of schedule tiebreaker as well. So those things could potentially come into play depending on how things fall. But, yeah, the fact that we're even talking about Arizona and the Pac-12 championship game at this point, just 2 seasons after losing 11 out of 12, is pretty remarkable.
To me, it's just you look back at week 4. And the schedule said top 25, top 25, top 25, top 25, top 25, top 25, top 25. That's 8.
Yeah.
8 consecutive games against top 25 teams. So when you're coming off that Mississippi State loss, going into the conference season and looking at that schedule, to be here now and even be talking about this in as strong a conference as we've ever seen, that's the most remarkable thing.
And you're 5-1. 5-1 over that stretch. Or I'm sorry, 5 and 2. Sorry, 5-2 over that stretch to now 7-3 on the season. 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290. We're going to talk hockey coming up later in this hour. John Ferguson, the general manager of the Tucson Roadrunners, is going to join us. The Roadrunners are home this weekend, and I believe Crickets got tickets for that coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. So listen for the cue to call. Crickets got tickets, from what I'm told, for you to see the Tucson Roadrunners this weekend.
One of our favorite callers, Tom, just called it in, and he was under the impression that there still is North and South divisions. When did that change? 3 years ago?
Last year.
Last year was the first year.
Was the first year.
I told him in my memory it was a COVID thing. They thought about it during that stretch and maybe rearranging it. I know Utah won the South quite a few times.
Right.
But they've no longer have the North and South divisions.
Exactly. No. Now, in the last 2 years, it's just been the top 2 teams by record that have gone. And last year was Utah and downtown Los Angeles. And right now it is Washington and Oregon.
Downtown Los Angeles, famous for being in the north.
Right, exactly. All right, I want you to hear. Let's hear. I said Frank Vogel in the last hour, but I'm going to switch this. I'm going to let you hear from Devin Booker and Kevin Durant after last night's win over the Minnesota Timberwolves, in which they each scored 31 points, but Bradley Beal once again did not play. Here are two of the Suns' big three.
Got to widen the lens here. Okay. Devin, just how did it feel not only to be back, but to look like your wind was there and you were able to get in the shot that you wanted and being in the flow with not only yourself but with the other guys?
Yeah, it's always nice just playing. Trying to put my inputs in from the bench, gets old after a while. And, I just want to get out there and, compete with the team.
Curious, Kevin, what do you think of Devin's performance tonight?
Incredible. I mean, that's what I expect out of him every time he touched the floor. I maybe was expecting a little bit of, wind in his lungs, early on, but he looked great. The pop was there, just playing with pace, and that's what we need. It's good to have our point guard back.
Curious, the only thing I have left for you two is having Brad not be out there, maybe just getting over that and then going out and still playing.
It's tough, man. Just like I said, nobody wants to miss any games, especially, when you're the best in the game and you want to prove it every night and something's holding you back. So, he's just trying to get right. He's taking all the steps. He's in there early every day getting his treatment. So, we're going to rally behind him, keep the morale high, and, make sure he's in good spirit until we get him back on the court.
Kevin, you've mentioned having to deal with some gimmicky defenses the last handful of games. Look out there, did it feel like tonight you were able to kind of pick and choose your spots a little bit easier?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, obviously, adding Book puts a little bit more fear into the defense, and then you got to give Minnesota credit. They like to rely on their defenders to guard up. They don't rely on the guys that they pay to defend to ask for double teams. So, I respect guys like that just play hard and play straight up. And tonight I was able to get to the post, get to the mid range as well. So, but adding Book out there just makes everything easier for everybody. And once we get Brad back, it's going to feel the same way. So, I'm looking forward to finally becoming a whole team.
Kevin, you played with guys that several lead scorers in the past. What's the secret to the mesh and the blend of getting everybody rolling?
That guys don't try to minimize themselves just because we got talent on the team. I think guys still got to go out there and showcase their full games, and the timing might be different on when you're going to do that or when the other guys are going to do it, but at the same time, you still got to, play your game and not worry about other guys. And coach is going to figure out the best places to put us, and tonight was one of those nights.
Look, right before the half, you had that open three you passed out of, and Kev shot you a look. What was the conversation there?
Yeah, just telling me to be aggressive, kind of playing off what he just said. I was thinking of for sure getting the last shot there, making sure they didn't get another attempt, but if we have open looks, we got to let it ride. And, I would have said the same thing to him.
Book, you mentioned giving your input from the sideline and kind of being tired of that, and Coach was complimenting your vocalness during the stretch when you've been out and whatnot. That's nothing new for you, but is there any more emphasis you're trying to put on that with Chris gone, or is that factoring into how you're thinking about kind of taking more of that on this year?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely did a lot of that last year or the last 3 years. So, just being voices. But we have multiple leaders on this team that lead in different ways. And I think the term leadership, goes off if you're successful or not. And there's many ways to do it. I've had many different teams and different players, and, you kind of just have to figure out what's most effective to who you're trying to lead. But, credit our team having a lot of experience from the coaching staff down to all the players that, everything is collaborative and we can, talk through situations. And, it's like we've been there before, and, it feels like we've been a team for a long time.
All right, those are the two leaders of your your Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Both scored 31 points in the game last night. The Wildcats play Friday, Sunday. The Suns also play Friday and Sunday. They'll play at Utah for both of those games. They'll be in Salt Lake City Friday night, 8 o'clock, Sunday night at 6 o'clock. So, and I believe both of those games are on national TV. Well, at least one of them is. Friday night on ESPN, Sunday on NBA TV, so maybe we'll get to see that since it's a road game.
When you have Kevin Durant on your team, you get a lot of nationally televised
You
games.
do.
That's how that works.
You think it's just because Kevin Durant is on the team?
I'm saying in addition to having the great
Yeah.
Devin Booker on their team, they do have Kevin Durant on that team now. So, and they did not have that in previous years. He only joined the team, halfway through last year. So, Phoenix Suns fans should expect. I know that they skipped the line in a lot of ways with that trip to the finals. A lot of teams were maybe poised to be in that spot, and they got really hot at the right time. Obviously, CP3 came over after that. So they've had a lot of national noise coming from that team without a doubt. But there's a lot of teams out there right now that have a really good Q rating, right? There's a lot of teams out there that are very marketable. Let's put it that way.
So both games tonight in the league, I believe, are in-season tournament games, if I'm not mistaken. And then all the well, maybe not. It's confusing. I'm trying to pull up the actual schedule for this in-season tournament, but I'm not really seeing it the way that I want to see it.
I just wait until the broadcast, and then if the court is crazy, it's in-season tournament.
Then
So there's some good marketing.
But they've only
right there.
the Suns have only played one of these in-season tournament games. It was a home game against the Lakers, so I would imagine that one of these two games coming up this weekend has to be in-season tournament at Utah. I would imagine maybe that's why it's a. They've been doing this the last few years where they play kind of series, 2-game series.
Yeah.
Type situations, not necessarily back-to-back. There's usually an off day in between. But we'll see if one of these two games coming up is an in-season tournament game for the Phoenix Suns. All right, coming up, we are going to be talking some hockey. John Ferguson, the general manager of the Tucson Roadrunners, is going to join us. And right after that, at the top of the 5 o'clock hour, Crickets got tickets to see the Roadrunners. Listen for the cue to call, and you might be going to the game on Saturday night. 520-848-1290 is the number to get in on the program. With JW Madden Cricket, I'm David Kelly. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
I can't wait for what's next. Even with higher stroke risk due to atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Eliquis, apixaban tablets, reduces stroke risk. It's the #1 cardiologist prescribed blood thinner. Don't stop taking prescription.
BK on the Sports Tip on Wildcats Radio 1290.
All right, let's talk some hockey. The Roadrunners back in town this weekend for a pair of games against Coachella Valley at Tucson Arena. Pleased to be joined by the general manager of the Tucson Roadrunners. His name is John Ferguson. He is also the assistant general manager of the Phoenix, or the Arizona Coyotes, I should say. And John, let's pleased to have you here. Let's kind of roll people about what your job actually entails, because you are employed by the Coyotes as an assistant. So does that entail you in being involved in player acquisitions for both the Coyotes as well as for the Roadrunners?
Yes, it does, David, and thank you very much. Pleased to join you and obviously your listeners. Yes, it does. I assist Bill Armstrong, our general manager, in all facets of our hockey operations at both levels. And happen to have, the two titles, assistant general manager with the Coyotes and general manager of the Tucson Roadrunners. And I look forward to being in town for our second game of this two-game set this weekend. Against Coachella Valley. They won the West last year, and they took us out in the first round. So we've got some unfinished business there.
Absolutely, we do. When you guys look at building these two teams, are you building them similarly? Obviously, I'm sure there's a different mindset in terms of how you guys build the team in the National League versus you're dealing with a lot of young prospects and stuff in the American League. But are you looking for players that are kind of very similar skill sets for the two teams in terms of you have your core draftees and those types of players, but the players you want to build in around them?
Yeah, and Bill Armstrong, we've been very specific in terms of the modus operandi for our development system here in Tucson, and that's to develop Coyotes in a competitively successful environment. The attributes, 5 points of character, are all aspects we seek through the draft, through free agency, through trades, waivers, if you will. And as best we can, Steve Potvin, our head coach in Tucson, our coaching staffs at both levels spent a lot of time together, especially leading into the season. Andre Tournier and Steve Potvin, well-versed to attempt as best we can to replicate our systems. So when these players are called up, Milos Kellerman went up just yesterday. Kolya Chonak went up. Michael Kesselring will play in Columbus tonight. So these players are ready to contribute at a moment's notice.
7-6-2. We'll start with the Coyotes. 7-6-2 so far in this young season. I mean that's an incredible amount of progress for this club, but in a very, very difficult division where you're playing with Dallas and Colorado and Winnipeg's up there now, and St. Louis seems to have their mojo back. But I would imagine through these first 15 games, you guys have to be very pleased with what you've gotten out of this rebuilt Arizona Coyote squad.
Yes, there are a number of contributors. The leadership's been tremendous. Clayton Keller is a star in the league, and he and Schmaltz on the top line, really drive the offense, and they've really dug in on and off the ice. You've got a group of defensemen. Bill, made an acquisition of Sean Dursey this summer, brought in free agents, veteran free agents. Dumba, Zucker up front, who contributed again the other night. It's a real good mix. Obviously, bringing in Logan Cooley in the summer, and Logan made a decision to leave Minnesota, the University of Minnesota Gophers, and join us as a rookie. So he's provided a real nice spark. So we've got added depth, more exciting. We're shoring up our defensive capabilities. Matthias Michelli is making plays left and right. Lawson Krause, a real leader for us. And I can go down the list. In goal, we've been real good between Ingram and Vejmelka. So there's lots to like. We're not there yet. We understand that. We're not where we need to be, where we want to be eventually. But we're taking steps in the right direction. We're competitive on a nightly basis, and we're going into games expecting to win now, and that's a good feeling.
What sets in? We're joined by the general manager of the Tucson Roadrunners, assistant general manager of the Arizona Coyotes, John Ferguson. You mentioned Logan Cooley there. What sets him apart as a rookie that can immediately go up to the big club and be able to stick?
Yeah, he can make plays at such a high pace. His vision and his skill is exceptional, and he's demonstrated those abilities for a number of years now at the U.S. National Team Development Program, and even before then. But that's when he really came on our radar, and we were pleased to grab him at the third overall pick, and it was great for him to go back and have a real strong freshman year. They lost in the NCAA final last year at Minnesota Gophers, and he was a big driver for them, and he's learning how to be that for us.
When you look at a guy that we've had down here for the last few years, Michael Carcone, and you wonder sometimes, it's like, okay, is Carcone just going to be? Is he going to? We like to use the term. I spent a lot of time in baseball. I don't know if you guys use this term in hockey, but we like to use the term quad A guy, a guy that he's good enough to maybe get a few cups of coffee in the big leagues, but maybe not good enough to stay there. It seemed like maybe Carcone was falling into that realm, but maybe now, is he taken the next step that allows him now to be a guy that can be a consistent, reserve line guy on a National Hockey League team for a number of years?
You make a great comparison because there's a lot of players that are pushing through their top guys at for what it's worth, AAA kind of level, and you call them a quad A. And these players, it's tough. I mean, he's got over 300 games played in the American Hockey League, and he got better every year, and he continues to get better. He's right at the top of our team up in the NHL right now in goal scoring, and he may not look back. It's too early to say that he's only getting better, but we like what we've seen thus far, and credit to him. He dug in and you wouldn't take no for an answer as a professional, and got better every year, and he's reaping the rewards right now, as are we.
Dylan Guenther was one of the last cuts out of training camp sent down here. What was that conversation like with him? I mean, obviously that's tough when a kid wants to make the opening day roster, doesn't get that opportunity. What did you tell him that you wanted to see from him down here playing in Tucson?
Well, you're right, and he burns. He's got an inner drive. He wants to be at the NHL level, as does every player we have at the American League level. He understands he's got to work on some things as a pro. He needs to get stronger. Needs to get faster. But he's at the top of our scoring right now in Tucson, and he is doing all the things he needs to learn how to be a better pro. It may be these guys could go up on a moment's notice. So he's going day to day. That's his job. Make himself better every day, and our horizon for him is a little further out than his is, and so we like where he's at. He's made great strides since we drafted him 2 years ago. Bill made a tremendous move to get a first round pick in the draft, which had been taken away, and was able to move on from a real good defenseman on a long-term contract, was able to add a top 10 pick, and Dylan Guenther continues to get better and will only get better.
And John, did I understand you were overseas doing some scouting last week?
Yes, I was. We had a number of people. There was some under 18, there was some under 20, and a couple of different men's national team tournaments, in different places, Germany and Finland. We had a number of guys at the U20 in the Czech Republic as well. So, Czechia. Yes, so I was over there, and another part of my duties to look at free agents, augment our group. We've got a crack amateur staff. Both directors of amateur scouting, and Ryan Jankowski and Daryl Plandowski, do a tremendous job, and they've got that side of this of our program right where it needs to be, and we're augmenting the viewings of our drafted players, our prospects, but also for free agency, and obviously see what every other team has depth wise for potential trades or if these players become free agents.
You mentioned obviously your personnel, lieutenants who are kind of leading the forefront. At what point do you get involved? Is there a certain level or a certain time period that you begin to get involved? Like you take a trip like that to get your eyes on somebody. Does that mean you're getting close to something, or is it just like? And how often are you going, say, overseas to see players play?
Typically, in any given year, it's probably going to be 3 times, and it's other years it's going to be potentially more than that. The World Junior is back over there this year, which is right after Christmas time, right into New Year's. So I'll head back at that time. There's probably one more, some national team tournaments in February, and then either the U18 World Championships or the Men's World Championships, which would be April or May. Obviously Bill Armstrong's, got an extensive background on the amateur side, and he'll jump in as needed as well. They don't need a lot of extra opinions, but we've all got various levels of expertise and experience, and happy to lend an eye and lend an opinion, and that's what makes our group so productive. We invite the full spectrum of opinions, and we're not afraid to share them professionally, but openly and frankly. And when we leave that room, it's an organizational decision, but we're all encouraged to give our opinion and make it unvarnished.
Roadrunners General Manager John Ferguson sharing a few moments of his time with us. Roadrunners at home this weekend against Coachella Valley, Friday night and Saturday night at 7 o'clock out at the arena. We mentioned Dylan Gunther. Before we let you go, John, who's maybe that one other guy that Tucson fans should be watching closely on this current roster?
That's a great question. I mean, there's probably 5 names I could give you. Josh Stone's had a tremendous start of the year as well. He was great through our rookie tournament and into NHL preseason. Your fans will be very familiar with Josh Stone and the family name in Arizona hockey. Unfortunately, he went to the ASU. He wasn't at U of A, but we won't hold that against him.
We got to get a top level program first. not that our program is not top level for where they are, but not Division I.
Yeah, well, someday. Hopefully someday soon.
Yeah. Hey, John, we appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us. Look forward to seeing you down here throughout the season, and continued success with the way that both of these clubs, the Coyotes and the Roadrunners, have started this 23-24 season.
Thank you very much, David. Great to be with you.
All right, John Ferguson, Roadrunners General Manager, Coyotes Assistant General Manager, one of the men with his hands on the pulse of the personnel that outfits these 2 hockey clubs here in Arizona. We have got, or I should say, Cricket has got tickets coming up for you in the next hour to see your Tucson Roadrunners. It's DK on the Sports Tip along with JW Madden and Cricket. I'm David Kelly. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together. Some slowdowns westbound on Ina at Thornydale, also northbound traffic on Oracle at Ina. And we've got busy traffic at Ajo and Mission and southbound La Cholla. At Ajo Way, reported collisions, Lambert Lane and La Cholla, River Road and Craycroft, and also 12th Avenue north of Irvington. 60 our overnight low with clear skies, partly cloudy, 80 tomorrow and 77 now. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together.
This report is sponsored by Big O Tires. Come to Big O Tires for the big Black Friday sale now through December 3rd and get up to $140 instant savings off select in-stock Michelin tires at Big O. Just in time for your holiday travel plans. Details at bigotires.com. The team you trust.
I can't wait for what's next. Even with higher stroke risk due to atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Eliquis, apixaban tablets, reduces stroke risk. It's the #1 cardiologist-prescribed blood thinner.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or have antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising, or if you have tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. It may increase your bleeding risk if you take medicines such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Football and Miller Lite, America's greatest pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Knocking on bar tops for luck. Kicking back on any given.
CNWT.
From the what? Central Northwest Tucson. Duh.
It's DK on the Sports Tip
with your host, David Kelly.
Radio. Just when I thought I was out, they drug me back in.
Featuring J.W. Madden.
Don't tell me about flip-flops, man. I'm a native.
And Cricket getting you home with traffic and weather.
Camp on Melt Lemon, not in the left lane on the freeway.
Here we go! And now, a man who has not one, but 3 first names, David Scott Kelly.
The National Football League coming straight your way here at the bottom of the hour. The Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. Who you got tonight? Give me a call, 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290. Is it going to be Joe Burrow and the Bengals? I know there's a lot of Bengals fans here well, there's a lot of every fans here, but I think there are more Bengals fans here in Southern Arizona than there are Ravens fans. I've never seen a lot of Ravens fans here in Southern Arizona, but I have seen a lot of Bengals fans here in Southern Arizona. So if you are a Ravens fan and you live here, let's hear from you as well. 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290.
You know, there's a lot of Raiders fans just because of that.
No, Ravens.
I know what you said. You know how there's a lot of Raiders fans because of the general attitude that team has always represented.
Right.
Maybe the Bengals fans cut from a similar cloth. Just saying that there was a time not too long ago where the NFL changed the rules, right? I mean, I remember the Bengals just being terrible for such a long time. No disrespect to Boomer and all those other guys. But in the last 15 years or so, that's changed. And so I think maybe the current and more recent history of that organization, right, has been kind of, I don't know, sexy is not the right word, but they've had a lot of polarizing figures over there in Cincinnati, without a doubt.
They have. And speaking of the Raiders, they're getting some company, apparently, in Las Vegas.
Yes,
it is now official. The Oakland A's, are following the Oakland Raiders to Las Vegas to become the Las Vegas A's or whatever they may. I don't know that they'll change the name because owners generally don't like to do that. But I've always said that if a team moves to a different city, they should change the name and become part of that city and leave the other city behind.
What era did they move from Philly?
Oh, gosh. 60s maybe? Yeah, 60s. They were the Philadelphia Athletics. Something of that nature.
Yeah, we talked a lot over the summer when all that was going down. Well, spring, when all that was going down with the new ownership. And clearly their effort was to move the team from Oakland. I feel bad, obviously, for all the grandpas who are lifetime Oakland A's fans. It's always been a proud franchise and a lot of great memories, you know, in just my lifetime in the history of baseball. You go down the list of all the names, right? Ricky and Eckersley and all those guys. So it'll be sad. I think, you know, I think that it was only a matter of time when they changed the rules in all the sports leagues about gambling. It was always a big bugaboo about Vegas. They didn't want to intermingle with the betting books and professional sports, but that's changed in these last, with all the apps and everything, has really changed that whole landscape. So it was only a matter of time. So, I mean, it's really it's tough. I think it's tough for anybody who's from the Bay Area, obviously, and who ever followed that franchise. I think they're pretty synonymous, you know, with Oakland for such a long time. The Raiders, on the other hand, moved back and forth, L.A., Oakland, L.A., Oakland, L.A., Oakland, my lifetime. But, yeah, it's always been the Oakland A's as far as I know.
So here's the history, in case you were not aware. They were the Philadelphia Athletics from 1901 to 1954. Then they moved to Kansas City. They were the Kansas City Athletics from 1955 to 1967. And then they moved to Oakland and became the Oakland Athletics from 1968 until this past season in 2023. And I would imagine that the team next year will play at the minor league park, if in fact that's what's going to happen. And my understanding is that is what is going to happen. They will play at the AAA stadium, and that'll be their first season as the Las Vegas Athletics. So four cities have had the Athletics since 1901 when they first came to be. I would think, and I'm not sure, I would think that's probably a record for one franchise to be in four cities. I don't know that any other franchise has been in that many. I know the Rangers were the Senators, right? But I think they were just the Senators and the Rangers, if I'm not mistaken. The current Nationals were once the Montreal Expos. But I don't know that there's another team. If you know that, call us on that one. Has there been another current franchise in Major League Baseball that has played in four different cities? 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290 is the number to answer that particular question. That might be, we'll have to look that up, and maybe that'll be a question of the day here. I wanted to wrap up yesterday's question of the day. We did not do that, and that was involving Sofia Maldonado Diaz from the Arizona volleyball team. And we had a chance to talk to her. And in fact, J-Dab, I want to play this part where she and we'll get to, we didn't get to Brooks Reed today, but we'll get to Brooks Reed tomorrow or hopefully Saturday. We'll get a chance to hear from him. But I do want to play this this little segment here from Sofia Maldonado Diaz. And we've also got cricket coming up here momentarily. She is going to be giving away tickets to see the Tucson Roadrunners. So get ready for the cue to call on that. And then Kelvin Ifan will join us before we hit the end of the show here at the bottom of the hour. But we mentioned earlier in the week that the Arizona volleyball team's got the number one recruit coming in next season. Carly Cisneros, she's from Kansas City, Missouri, and she has committed last summer in 2022 to play here for Dave Rubio, stayed committed with the change of coaches to Sharita Stubbs, and is at the top of the number 7 overall recruiting class in the nation for volleyball. Coming in here to help hopefully lift up a team that has not had a good season with double-digit losses. And I asked I asked Sofia and Joy Gallus yesterday at their press conference how that might change their perspective about coming back for a 5th season, knowing that you've got the number one player in the country headed here to Tucson.
I think it's pretty excited, not just to consider it to play with her, but more like knowing that if I leave, they're going to have a really good prospect. This team, if we all leave, this team is going to be young again. So I'm pretty excited because they're capable of doing the things. And I think they have a coach that can make them grow fast. Because, of course, we know Rita she's hard with us. And I think with a young team, and especially with talented players like Sydney, that they're just young, but they need experience, and that's all they need because they are capable of. And I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited to see how Tess come back. And today she had her first practice with us, so I was pretty excited to see her again. And I don't know, I was thinking that this week. I was like, I'm so excited for you guys. I told Joy, in the case that I leave, if I stay, of course, I want to help them as much as I can. And I don't know, I'm excited to see everyone, not just those two, but like everyone else.
Yeah, the middle that just committed to. I think they've got a great group, and they all seem to be good people as well. I think there's another setter too that came in this summer for the camp, and she got along well with the freshmen, and it's an eager group of girls, and I think that what Rita says they do in a good way. Like they're ready to they want it for her as much as they want it for themselves. So I think it's going to be awesome next year seeing that talent come to U of A.
All right, so the question yesterday was, do you think Sofia Maldonado Diaz will return to U of A in 2024 for her super senior volleyball season? And the final poll read like this. 69% said yes, one more season. 31% said no, she'll turn pro. I believe, listening to Sharita Stubbs yesterday talk about this and how important education is to Sofia Maldonado Diaz, and it does not sound like she's going to be finished at the end of this year. I believe she may come back. I voted in this poll that I believe she's going to come back and play another year and finish her education here at the University of Arizona. So hey, NIL right now is so important in that. Prop up, stuff like that for athletes like her to stay here at the University of Arizona. for another year. But I believe Sofia Maldonado will be back as well. All right, cricket is back, and Cricket's got tickets.
Yes, sir.
What do you got tickets to today?
I have tickets to see the Roadrunners. It's a 4-pack for Saturday night's game between the Roadrunners and the Coachella Valley Firebirds. So you ready?
Yes.
All right. So caller 3 right now at 520-848-1290. 848-1290. Caller 3 right now going to see the Tucson Roadrunners and the Coachella Valley Firebirds Saturday night at the Tucson Arena. Face up at 7 p.m.
All right. Caller number 3 right now is going to go see the Tucson Roadrunners take on the Coachella. Have you ever been to Coachella? Have you ever been to the show, the concert, the big festival there?
No, I have not.
No, that's one I've never been to either. So it's very, I mean, it's obviously very popular. A lot of great artists. Are you into festivals at all? Do you ever, I mean, like, do you like that many people around you?
I like Country Thunder probably the best for a festival.
Country Thunder. I've never been to that one either, but I've heard that's the one up in Florence.
Yes.
Okay. I've heard that's very popular. Very popular. All right, Cricket, thank you so much. We won't talk to you tomorrow, but we will talk to you on Monday.
Okay.
All right. Have a great weekend, Cricket.
Thank you. You too.
All right. We're going to get a break in here. When we come back, we are going to be joined by Kelvin Ifan. Kelvin will join us, and we'll talk some Arizona football as well as Arizona men's basketball. It's DK on the Sports Tip. I'm David Kelly. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
From the O'Reilly Chevrolet Traffic Center, it's Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together. Some slowdowns westbound on Ina at Thornydale, also northbound traffic on Oracle at Ina. And we've got busy traffic at Ajo and Mission and southbound La Cholla. At Ajo Way, reported collisions, Lambert Lane and La Cholla, River Road and Craycroft, and also 12th Avenue north of Irvington. 60 our overnight low with clear skies, partly cloudy, 80 tomorrow and 77 now. I'm Cricket with your Wildcats Radio 1290 traffic and weather together.
This report is sponsored by Big O Tires. Come to Big O Tires for the big Black Friday sale now through December 3rd and get up to 140 instant savings off select in-stock Michelin tires at Big O. Just in time for your holiday travel plans. Details at bigotires.com. The team you trust.
Sean Furrier for Jack Furrier Tire and Auto Care. It looks like our long, hot summer is finally over, and cooler temperatures are great news for us.
1290. It's the 5 o'clock hour, and it's time for our Arizona Insiders.
Am I late? No, my boy, you're just in time.
Each weekday, Wildcats Radio 1290 brings you all the latest news and opinions on U of A football and the Pac-12. So bear down, Tucson, and let's talk Arizona football. Our Arizona Insiders are brought to you by Coors Light, official corporate sponsors of Arizona Athletics. There's nothing like game day in Arizona.
All right, let's talk some University of Arizona football and basketball with our captain, Kelvin Ifan. He joins us. And Kelvin, let's start on the football side of things. And could you have imagined 2 seasons ago that we would be talking in the same sentence, or we'd be using in the same sentence, Arizona football and Pac-12 championship game?
No, not this soon, man. I mean, I'm amazed with what Fish has been able to do. I'm one of the guys that didn't quite understand a little bit the hire, but again, I'm the type, once the guy gets the job, I say give him 4 years and see what he can do. And I mean, he's right now he's ahead of schedule.
Way ahead of schedule. Way ahead of schedule for sure. And obviously, senior day coming up, a big chance for this team to play one final home game at Arizona Stadium, daytime football. And it's interesting, though, because there is some rain in the forecast for this weekend, which could be something a little bit different than we're kind of maybe used to seeing some rain in the fall here at the beginning of games and whatnot. Not necessarily this late in the year. That though, I guess it's not going to have too much of an effect, obviously, in terms of the turf. Because it's a field turf at the stadium. But what could they potentially be dealing with in terms of dealing with wet footballs that maybe they haven't even had a chance to or haven't had to do that yet this season?
When you're playing with that wet football, a lot of the times you got to make sure. You have to make sure you secure it because when you're getting hit and when people are punching at the ball, there's more opportunities for fumbles and things like that. So you just have to really make sure that you secure that ball. I think anytime that there's bad weather, the offense always has the advantage because they know exactly where they're going. They can throttle down a little bit on their cuts and get in and out of their breaks a little bit better. So I just think it's just a thing of where you just have to secure the football on the offensive side of the ball.
Kelvin, last week, obviously, Jonah Coleman, 11 carries, 175 yards, his best performance as a collegiate. What did you like from what you saw about not only Jonah's running, but just the way that the line opened up holes from him? Raymond Polito was back there, and he looks like he's the real deal.
Man, I mean, it's amazing. First off, the offensive line, man, when you have a back that run that hard, I used to be the type of guy that ran pretty hard. The offensive linemen just block a little bit harder for you. Just keeping it real. Anybody that says that's not true, I'll tell them they're lying. When they know they got a guy that's going to give their all, they give their all. And you would want to think they give it all. Well, I'll say they give some extra. Let's just go there. They give some extra. And you see it when that kid runs the ball. I mean, it looks like he's like a bowling pin. I mean, a bowling ball just knocking pins down. I mean, they cannot get under him. He really protects his legs. Great running backs protect their legs. I think it has a little bit to do with his gravity, but it's tough for people to take him down because they cannot get to his legs.
And I'm sure you saw the stiff arm he laid on Shiloh Sanders there. I'm sure you maybe had one or two of those or quite a few of those kind of stiff arms back in your day. What's the science in that? Because, you want to try to make sure you're not breaking your fingers, but you also want to give yourself room to run. What's kind of the technique in having a good stiff arm?
Well, number one, the great thing of a great stiff arm, you got to make sure you hit them with your palm. It's with the palm of your hand. Then you have to really cock it back and wait until they lunge at you, and then you want to hit them on the top of their helmet, right on the top of the forehead or right on the top of the helmet, because then the arms can't reach you and grab you and pull you down by clout. And then you just want to follow through and thud them and then snatch your arm back so they don't grab your arm and try to pull you down. So it's like a little jab, like a boxer jab that you're really throwing.
Yeah, thud them. I like that. I've never heard that term, but you got to thud them down to the ground. Kelvin Efon, our captain, 1998, joining us. Arizona Wildcats taking on the Utah Utes this Saturday at the stadium. Kelvin, let's flip it over real quick and talk some Arizona basketball. We didn't have a chance to obviously talk to you after the Duke game, but what were your impressions of what you saw from the club?
Man, I was so excited, man. I was talking to some people, and I was hearing they were going to get more athletic. And, man, when I tell you, a lot of times where the athleticism comes to light is on that defensive side of the ball, man. When you got guys like Keyshawn Johnson, defensive terrorist, you got guys like Boswell, one of Lloyd's great diamond finds. You got K.J. Lewis with those long arms and defensive tenacity. I mean, I can go on and on, man. I'm going to have a great time watching this because if I was Lloyd, I wouldn't care what they do on offense as long as they continue to play that type of rugged defense that usually makes people give in.
Yeah, I mean, it is fun to watch for sure. And you mentioned Keyshawn Johnson just being a guy. And I said earlier in the show, man, he seems like he's the guy that's going to really bring the energy. You know, his ability to run the floor, score in transition, score a number of different ways. We were talking to Ernie Kent this week, and he kind of pointed that out and just his enthusiasm for wanting to be here and be a part of this program.
Yeah, man, that's what I love, man. Every time you see the kid, the first time I see him, and I bring it up again in the Summer Pro League, Corey Williams league, man, the kid was just smiling and happy and just enjoying himself. He already has his degrees, working on his master's. He already been to a Final Four. He want to prove a few things that he can do team-wise and individually. And just when you have somebody with that type of energy around, man, it just seems to bring the best out of everybody else. And I think K.J. Lewis has that type of infectious attitude as well.
Well, and it's interesting, you know, we've seen this team be able to score in a number of different ways, but I thought that we talked to Ernie Kent this week. He brought up something interesting. Maybe the one thing that he still needs to see from this team is who is going to be that knockdown jump shooter. If you have to do that, if teams start zoning you up, who do you think could be that consistent guy? Is that going to be Caleb Love? You know, we've seen him struggle with that outside jumper. Who do you think can be that guy to knock down multiple jump shots from distance if you need to moving forward?
I think Caleb Love is going to be a little bit streaky. I just think that's just by nature of being an aggressive scorer. You know, that's going to happen. Some games he's going to hit 5. Some games he's going to go 1 for 5. But you live with it because with everything else that he brings to the table, leadership, scoring. But I think Boswell is a guy that I think we can depend on, man. I think he's a guy that is showing that he's just steady. You look at his game, it's just very fundamental and old school. He has a very tight shot that he shoots, and he's very accurate with it. And I think he's a guy that you can probably depend on. I think Phillip, coming off the bench, is I don't want to butcher his last name right now. I got to get him basketball for him. But I think he's also a guy that you probably could depend on to knock some shots down from the corner and from the wing as well. So I think the shooting is not going to be a biggest problem. And I also mentioned this. Let's go back to the defense. When you're playing against teams that try to zone you, the best way to beat a zone is to play great defense and get in the passing lanes on the defensive end and rebound and get in transition. And we already know that's a strong suit of this team. And you can run people out of zone and force them to have to play man because they don't have time to sit back because they need buckets to get back in the game. So that's the way, to me, this team, I think, is going to, you know, kill a lot of the zone with their defensive tenacity.
All right, Kelvin, busy weekend coming up. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Talk to you guys tomorrow.
Thanks to Coors Light for bringing you today's Arizona Insiders on Wildcats Radio 1290. Coors Light, official corporate sponsors of Arizona Athletics. There's nothing like game day in Arizona.
All right, our thanks to Kelvin Efon for joining us. And J-Dub, did we get a winner for those hockey tickets over there?
We did, yeah. As a matter of fact, he was ready to get on with us, but he wasn't able to. It was Joe. Joe was the winner of the 4 hockey tickets. Big hockey fan, too. First thing I ask when we give away these hockey tickets, I say, are you a hockey fan? And he was like, heck yeah, I am. So he's going to have a good time.
All right, congratulations to Joe. He picks up a 4-pack of tickets. Cricket's got tickets every week here on Wildcats Radio 1290. Just listen for the cue to call. Your chance to go see the Wildcats, your chance to go see the Roadrunners, your chance to see just about anything here in town when Cricket has those tickets. All right, we've got NFL football coming up for you here shortly. Cincinnati at Baltimore is the game, Thursday night football. And reminder, we will not have any football for you on Sunday. That's because Arizona basketball. In fact, we've got a busy week coming up, a busy weekend that starts tomorrow. We will be on the air at 5 o'clock on Friday, 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock for the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Tip-Off Show before Arizona and Belmont at McHale Center. We'll be down at Illegal Pete's, our final Bear Down Friday of the year. We'll get to see the parade. Maybe we'll send